Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Stavakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine Stavakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine Avataravariष्ठाय Ramakrishna te Namah. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityormamritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us offer our salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God incarnate, who came to establish religion universal. Let us pray to Him to lead us from the unreal to the real, to lead us from the darkness of ignorance to the light of knowledge, to lead us from death to immortality. Today's topic I have chosen from the Gospel. God can be seen. Sri Ramakrishna very emphatically has declared that everyone can see God in this human life. Lord Krishna also tells in the Bhagavad Gita, one can attain Him in this human life. But then, in spite of all this assurance, why it is so difficult for us not to see God? The reason is obvious. Mind is not fixed on God. The energy of the mind is dissipated in so many million ways. Unless the mind is properly controlled, one cannot see God in this life. That means mind is to be totally purified. In order to do that, one has to be very alert, cautious. One has to be sincere. And his aspiration to see God should be very strong, and one should be zealous. If a person satisfies all these factors, surely he will be able to see God. Sri Ramakrishna says that one can see God if one loves Him. So, loving God is most important. All of us have got the faculty of love, but we are not directing it towards God. So, if the mind is not purified, one cannot recognize the divine. Probably you have read in Mahabharata how Duryodhana could not recognize the divine supreme. Lord Krishna. Though he appeared in Duryodhana's court as Krishna everywhere, but he could not recognize. He wanted to bind Lord Krishna by a rope because Duryodhana was the personification of evil qualities, jealousy, hatred, all sorts of things. Constantly hurting the people, and doing all such heinous activities. He could not recognize the divine supreme. Same thing happened to Shishupala. When Dharmaraj was about to start Rajasuya Yaga, great Bhishmacharya said that first worship should be offered to Lord Krishna. Bhishma very well knew that Lord Krishna is none other than the Supreme Paramatman. But then Shishupala stood up and protested. He began to abuse Krishna. Even though Lord Krishna is present there, Shishupal could not recognize Krishna as a divine supreme because of his evil tendencies in the mind. So it's very important that how you handle your mind, not yielding to the mind. Spiritual life means you should be more and more careful about what you think, what you do, and what you utter. All these three factors are very important. If you are negligent, careless, then you won't get the desired result. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11, Sanjaya said, Ityarjunam Vasudevas Tatoktva Swakam Rupam Darshayamasa Bhuyaha Ashvasayamasa Chabhitamenam Bhutva Punas Swami Vapur Mahatma. Lord Krishna gave a lot of instructions to Arjuna. And then showed his cosmic form, Vishwarupa, Darshan. Arjuna was terrified to see that form because his mind was not prepared to have that vision. Then Lord Krishna assumed his gentle human form and consoled Arjuna, who was terrified. But Arjuna and all the Pandavas had tremendous faith and devotion to Krishna. So they immediately recognized the Divine Supreme, Krishna. Lord Krishna also says in the same chapter, Bhaktya tvananyaya shakya ahamevam vidhorjuna jnatum drashtuncha tattvena praveshtuncha parantapa. Do you know how can you see me? How can you know him? By single-minded devotion. Bhaktiyatu ananyaya. Ananya bhakti. Single-minded devotion. No diversion of mind. Then one can definitely see him. Mundakopanishad says, Prano hyesha yas sarvabhutair vibhati vijanan vidvan bhavate nativadi atmakridaha atmaratihi kriyavanesha brahmavidam varishtaha. The person who realizes it is the supreme life that shines through all life does not waste words. His pleasures and his love are then all in the Atman. He becomes the most enlightened among the knowers of the Eternal. So, it is very important to know that we go in a definite path. We should know clearly that we are living spiritual life. Then only you will be able to march onwards in spiritual path. The worldly pleasures, worldly things, they are all like baits just to distract you from going towards the divine. They all come to obstruct us. We lose peace of mind. We become unhappy because we associate with all these mundane things. So as I said earlier, we have to be really alert, cautious, sincere and serious. There's a very interesting dialogue between Sri Ramakrishna and Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. Sri Ramakrishna knew Vidyasagar was a very good man indeed, very reputed person, known to all the people in Calcutta. Sri Ramakrishna himself went to meet him without Vidyasagar seeking Sri Ramakrishna, because Sri Ramakrishna was personification of compassion. He wanted to direct the good person towards spirituality. So, he wanted to give him spiritual orientation to his way of life. Pandit Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar was born in the village of Bir Singh, not far from Kamarpukur, the birthplace of Sri Ramakrishna. Pandit Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar was well known as a great scholar, educator, writer and philanthropist. One of the creators of modern Bengali, he was also well versed in Sanskrit grammar and poetry. His generosity made his name a household word with his countrymen, most of his income being given in charity to widows, orphans, indigent students and other needy people. Nor was his compassion limited to human beings. He stopped drinking milk for years so that the cows should not be deprived of it. And he would not drive in a carriage for fear of causing discomfort to the horses. He was a man of indomitable spirit. which he showed when he gave up the lucrative position of principal of the Sanskrit College of Calcutta because of a disagreement with the authorities. His affection for his mother was especially deep. One day, in the absence of a ferry, he swam a raging river at the risk of his life to fulfill mother's wish that he should be present at his brother's wedding. His whole life was one of utter simplicity. The title Vidyasagar, meaning ocean of learning, was given to him in recognition of his vast erudition. Sri Ramakrishna had long wanted to visit Vidyasagar. Learning from M that he was a teacher at Vidyasagar school, Master asked him, "Can you take me to Vidyasagar? I should like very much to see him." M told Vidyasagar of Sri Ramakrishna's wish, and the Pandit gladly agreed that M should bring the master some Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock. He only asked M what kind of Paramahams the master was. "Does he wear an ochre cloth?" M answered, "No, sir. He is an unusual person. He wears a red-bordered cloth and polished slippers. He lives in a room in Rani Rasmani's temple garden. In his room there is a couch with mattress and a mosquito net. There is no outer indication of holiness. But he does not know anything except God. Day and night he thinks of God alone." On the afternoon of August 5th, 1882, the master left Dakshineshwar in a carriage accompanied by Bhavanath, M and Hazra. Vidyasagar lived in Bahadur Bagan in central Calcutta, about 6 miles from Dakshineshwar. On the way, Sri Ramakrishna talked with his companion, but as carriage neared Vidyasagar's house, his mood suddenly changed. He was overpowered with divine ecstasy. Not noticing this, M pointed out the garden house where Raj Ram Mohan Roy had lived. The master was annoyed and said, "I don't care about such things now." He was going to in an ecstatic state. The carriage stopped in front of Vidyasagar's house. The master got down from the carriage, supported by M, who then led the way. In the courtyard were many flowering plants were there. As the master walked to the house, he said to M like a child, pointing to his shirt button, "My shirt is unbuttoned. Will that offend Vidyasagar?" "Oh no," said M. "Don't be anxious about it. Nothing about you will be offensive. You don't have to button your shirt." He accepted the assurance simply like a child. Vidyasagar was about 62 years old, 16 or 17 years older than the master. He lived in a 2-story house built in the English fashion, with lawns on all sides and surrounded by a high wall. After climbing the stairs to the second floor, Sri Ramakrishna and his devotees entered a room at the far end of which Vidyasagar was seated, facing them, with a table in front of him. To the right of the table was a bench. Some friends of their host occupied chairs on the other 2 sides. Vidyasagar got up to receive the master. Sri Ramakrishna stood in front of the bench with one hand resting on the table. He gazed at Vidyasagar as if they had known each other before, and smiled in an ecstatic mood. In that mood, he remained standing a few minutes. Now and then, to bring his mind back to normal consciousness, Sri Ramakrishna said, I shall have a drink of water. In the meantime, the young members of the household and a few friends and relatives of Vidyasagar had gathered around. Sri Ramakrishna, still in an ecstatic mood, sat on the bench. A young man, 17 or 18 years old, who had come to Vidyasagar to seek financial help for his education, was seated there. Sri Ramakrishna sat down at a little distance from the boy. In an abstract mood, Sri Ramakrishna said, referring to that boy, Mother, this boy is very much attached to the world. He belongs to your realm of ignorance. Vidyasagar told someone to bring water and asked Yam whether the master would like some sweetmeats also. Since Yam did not object, Vidyasagar himself went eagerly to the inner apartments and brought the sweets. Referring to a young devotee, the master said to Vidyasagar, he is a nice young man and is sound at the core. He is like the river Falgu. The surface is covered with sand, but if you dig a little, you will find water flowing underneath. After taking some of the sweets, the master with a smile began to speak to Vidyasagar. Meanwhile, the room had become filled with people. Some were standing and others were seated. Master said, Oh, today at last I have come to the ocean. Up till now I have seen only canals, marshes, or a river at the most. But today I am face to face with Sagar, the ocean. Everybody laughed. Vidyasagar smilingly said, Then please take home some salt water. Again everybody laughed. Master said, Oh no, why salt water? You are not the ocean of ignorance. You are the ocean of Vidya, knowledge. You are the ocean of condensed milk. Everybody laughed. Vidyasagar said, Well, you may put it that way. The Pandit became silent. Sri Ramakrishna said, Your activities are inspired by sattva. Though they are rajasic, they are influenced by sattva. Compassion springs from sattva. Though work for the good of others belongs to rajas, yet this rajas has sattva for its basis and is not harmful. Shuka and other sages cherished compassion in their minds to give people religious instruction, to teach them about God. You are distributing food and learning. That's good too. If these activities are done in a selfless spirit, they lead to God. But most people work for fame or to acquire merit. Their activities are not selfless. Besides, you are already a Siddha. Vidyasagar asked, How is that, sir? Master said laughingly, When potatoes and other vegetables are well cooked, they become soft and tender. And you possess such a tender nature. You are so compassionate. Laughter. Vidyasagar said, But when the paste of kalai pulse is boiled, it becomes all the harder. Master said, But you don't belong to that class. Mere pandits are like diseased fruit that becomes hard and will not ripen at all. Such fruit has neither the freshness of green fruit nor the flavor of ripe. Vultures soar very high in the sky, but their eyes are fixed on rotten carrion on the ground. The book learned are reputed to be wise, but they are attached to lust and gold. Like the vultures, they are in search of carrion. They are attached to the world of ignorance. Compassion, love of God, and enunciation are the glories of true knowledge. Vidyasagar listened to these words in silence. The others too gazed at the master and were attentive to every word he said. Vidyasagar was very reticent about giving religious instruction to others. He had studied Hindu philosophy. Once, when M had asked him his opinion of it, Vidyasagar had said, "I think the philosophers have failed to explain what was in their minds." But in his daily life he followed all the rituals of Hindu religion and wore the sacred thread of a Brahmin. About God he had once declared, "It is indeed impossible to know him. What then should be our duty? It seems to me that we should live in such a way that if others followed our example, this very earth would be heaven. Everyone should try to do good to the world." Sri Ramakrishna's conversation now turned to the knowledge of Brahman, supreme reality. Master said, "Brahman is beyond Vidya and Avidya, knowledge and ignorance. It is beyond Maya, the illusion of duality. The world consists of the illusory duality of knowledge and ignorance. It contains knowledge and devotion, and also attachment to lust and gold, righteousness and unrighteousness, good and evil. But Brahman is unattached to these. Good and evil apply to the jiva, the individual soul, as do righteousness and unrighteousness, but Brahman is not at all affected by them. One man may read the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavata, by the light of a lamp, and another man may commit a forgery by that very light, but the lamp is unaffected. The sun sheds its light on the wicked as well as on the virtuous. You may ask, how then can one explain misery and sin and unhappiness? The answer is that these apply only to the jiva, the individual soul. Brahman is unaffected by them. There is poison in a snake, but though others may be dying if bitten by it, the snake itself is not affected by the poison. What Brahman is cannot be described. All things in the world, Vedas, Puranas, Tantras, 6 systems of philosophy, have been defiled, like food that has been touched by the tongue, for they have been read or uttered by the tongue. Only one thing has not been defiled in this way, and that is Brahman. No one has ever been able to say what Brahman is. Vidyasagar said to his friends, "Oh, that's a remarkable statement. I have learnt something new today." Master said, "A man had 2 sons. The father sent them to a preceptor to learn the knowledge of Brahman. After a few years, they returned from their preceptor's house and bowed low before their father. Wanting to measure the depth of their knowledge of Brahman, he first questioned the older of the 2 boys. 'My child, you have studied all the scriptures. Now tell me, what is the nature of Brahman?' The boy began to explain Brahman by reciting various texts from the Vedas. The father did not say anything. Then he asked the younger son the same question. But the boy remained silent and stood with eyes cast down. No word escaped his lips. The father was highly pleased and said to him, 'My child, you have understood a little of Brahman. What it is cannot be expressed in words.' Men often think they have understood Brahman fully. Once an ant went to a hill of sugar. One grain filled its stomach. Taking another grain in its mouth, it started homeward. On its way it thought, 'Next time I shall carry home the whole hill.' That is the way shallow minds think. They don't know that Brahman is beyond one's words and thought. However, great a man may be, how much can he know of Brahman? Shukadeva and sages like him may have been big ants, but even they could carry at the most 8 or 10 grains of sugar. As for what has been said in the Vedas and the Puranas, do you know what it is like? Suppose a man has seen the ocean, and somebody asks him, well, what is the ocean like? The first man opens his mouth as wide as he can and says, what a sight! What tremendous waves and sounds! The description of Brahman in the sacred books is like that. It is said in the Vedas that Brahman is of the nature of bliss. It is Chidananda. Shuka and other sages stood on the shore of this ocean of Brahman and saw and touched the water. According to one school of thought, they never plunged into it. Those who do cannot come back to the world again. In Samadhi, the state of super consciousness where absoluteness is experienced, attended with all knowledge and joy, one attains the knowledge of Brahman, one realizes Brahman. In that state, reasoning stops altogether, and man becomes mute. He has no power to describe the nature of Brahman. Once a salt dole went to measure the depth of the ocean. It wanted to tell others how deep the water was, but this it could never do, for no sooner did it get into water than it melted. Now who was there to report the ocean's depth? A devotee asked, suppose a man has obtained knowledge of Brahman in Samadhi, doesn't he speak any more? Master said, Shankaracharya, one of the greatest philosophers of India, retained the ego of knowledge in order to teach others. After the vision of Brahman, a man becomes silent. He reasons about it as long as he has not realized it. If you heat butter in a pan on the stove, it makes sizzling sound as long as the water it contains has not dried up. But when no trace of water is left, the clarified butter makes no sound. If you put an uncooked cake of flour in that butter, it sizzles again. But after the cake is cooked, all sound stops. Just so, a man established in Samadhi comes down to the relative plane of consciousness in order to teach others. And then he talks about God. The bee buzzes as long as it is not sitting on a flower. It becomes silent when it begins to sip the nectar, but sometimes, intoxicated with nectar, it buzzes again. An empty pitcher makes a gurgling sound when it is dipped in water. When it fills up, it becomes silent. But if the water is poured from it into another pitcher, then you will hear the sound again. The rishis of old attained the knowledge of Brahman. One cannot have this so long as there is the slightest trace of worldliness. How hard the rishis labored! Early in the morning, they would go away from the hermitage and would spend the whole day in solitude meditating on Brahman. At night they would return to the hermitage and eat a little fruit or roots. They kept their minds aloof from the objects of sight, hearing, touch, and other things of worldly nature. Only thus did they realize Brahman as their own inner consciousness. But in the Kali Yuga, man being totally dependent on food for life, cannot altogether shake off the idea that he is the body. In this state of mind, it is not proper for him to say, I am he. When a man does all sorts of worldly things, he should not say, I am Brahman. Those who cannot give up attachment to worldly things and who find no means to shake off the feelings of I should rather cherish the idea, I am God's servant, I am his devotee. By following this way, one can see God, realize him by following the path of devotion. The jnani gives up his identification with worldly things, discriminating not this, not this. Only then can he realize Brahman. It is like reaching the roof of a house by leaving the steps behind one by one. But the Vijnani, who is more intimately acquainted with Brahman, realizes something more. He realizes that steps are made of the same materials as the roof, bricks, lime and brick dust. That which is realized intuitively as Brahman through the eliminating process of not this, not this, he is then found to have become the universe and all its living beings. The Vijnani sees that the reality which is Nirgun without attributes is also Sagun with attributes. A man cannot live on the roof a long time. He comes down again. Those who realize Brahman in Samadhi come down also and find that it is Brahman that has become the universe and its living beings. In the musical scale, there are notes Sarigama Padani, but one cannot keep one's voice in Ni a long time. The ego does not vanish altogether. The man coming down from Samadhi perceives that it is Brahman that has become the ego, the universe and all living beings. This is known as Vijnana. The path of knowledge leads to truth, as does the path that combines knowledge and love. The path of love also leads to this goal. The way of love is as true as the way of knowledge. All paths ultimately lead to the same truth. But as long as God keeps the feeling of ego in us, it is easier to follow the path of love. The Vijnani sees that Brahman is immovable and actionless, like Mount Sumeru. This universe consists of the three gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. They are in Brahman, but Brahman is unattached. The Vijnani further sees that what is Brahman is the Bhagavan, the personal God. He who is beyond the three gunas is the Bhagavan with his 6 supernatural powers. Living beings, the universe, mind, intelligence, love, renunciation, knowledge, all these are the manifestations of his power. If an aristocrat has neither house nor property, or if he has been forced to sell them, one doesn't call him an aristocrat anymore. God is endowed with 6 supernatural powers. If he were not, who would obey him? All love. Just see how picturesque this universe is. How many things there are. The sun, the moon, stars, and how many varieties of living beings. Big and small, good and bad, strong and weak. Some endowed with more power, some with less. Vidyasagar asked a question. Has he endowed some with more power and others with less? Master said, as the all-pervading spirit, he exists in all beings, even in the ant. But the manifestations of his power are different in different beings. Otherwise, how can one person put 10 flight while another can't face even one? And why do all people respect you? Have you grown a pair of horns? Laughter. You have more compassion and learning. Therefore people honor you and come to pay you their respects. Don't you agree with me? Vidyasagar smiled. The master continued, there is nothing in mere scholarship. The object of study is to find means of knowing God and realizing Him. A holy man had a book. When asked what it contained, he opened it and showed that on all the pages were written the words Om Rama, nothing else. What is the significance of the Gita? It is what you find by repeating the word 10 times. It is then reversed into Tyagi, which means a person who has renounced everything for God. And the lesson of the Gita is, oh man, renounce everything and seek God alone. Whether a man is a monk or a householder, he has to shake off all attachment from his mind. Chaitanya Deva set out on a pilgrimage to southern India. One day he saw a man reading the Gita. Another man seated at a distance was listening and weeping. His eyes were swimming in tears. Chaitanya asked him, do you understand all this? The man said, no, revered sir, I don't understand a word of the text. Then why are you crying? The devotee said, I see Arjun's chariot before me. I see Lord Krishna and Arjun seated in front of it, talking. I see this and I weep. Why does a Vijnani keep an attitude of love towards God? The answer is that I consciousness persists. It disappears in the state of samadhi, no doubt, but it comes back. In the case of ordinary people, the I never disappears. You may cut down the Ashwatha tree, but the next day sprouts shoot up. Even after the attainment of knowledge, this I consciousness comes up, nobody knows from where. You dream of a tiger, then you awake, but your heart keeps on palpitating. All our suffering is due to this I. The cow cries Hamba, which means I. That is why it suffers so much. It is yoked to the plough and made to work in rain and sun. Then it may be killed by the butcher. From its hide shoes are made, and also drums, which are mercilessly beaten. Still, it does not escape suffering. At last, strings are made out of its entrails for the bows used in carding cotton. Then it no longer says Amba Amba, I, but Tuhu Tuhu, Thou Thou. Only then are its troubles over. O Lord, I am the servant, Thou art the master, I am the child, Thou art the mother. So, one should have definite attitude towards God. To begin with, one should have tremendous faith in the presence of God, and one should develop love of God. One should be well established in character. One should accept his weaknesses and try to correct them mercilessly. Without making corrections, one can never proceed in spiritual life. It is very common that people don't realize their own weaknesses. But their eyes are always upon the looking out of the weakness in others. But in spiritual life, you should not seek the weakness of others, but see the weakness in your own self. How much weakness is there in my mind? I should try to free it from all weakness. That should be our spiritual practice. So, then it becomes easy. And once a person is established in character, definitely one can see God in this life itself. So God can be seen. Sri Ramakrishna has categorically said. Even Shankaracharya has said, one can attain liberation in this human life, Jivan Mukti. All the Mahatmas have told. Only thing is, we must prepare our mind properly, establish character, then everything becomes possible. But if we are negligent about our spiritual practices, we become worse than the worldly people. The ego becomes inflated, all sorts of complexes develop, all sorts of conflicts come up in the mind. We become worse than before. That shouldn't happen. That only indicates we are not following the spiritual path at all. So we have to be God on ourselves. Every moment of life is important. Am I on the spiritual track or am I losing the track? That question we should keep on asking every moment of our life. Then it is possible that God can be seen. Most important factor is we must not hanker after anything of this world. We should not be drawn towards the baits, glamours of the world. Then it is possible that we can see God. Sri Ramakrishna has assured us. Let us follow these instructions. Sri Ramakrishna said, page 942, I see that it is God Himself who has become the block, the executioner, and the victim for the sacrifice. As he describes this staggering experience in which he realizes in full the identity of all within the one being, he is overwhelmed with emotion and exclaims, "Oh, what a vision!" Immediately, Sri Ramakrishna goes into Samadhi. He completely forgets his body and the outer world. The devotees are bewildered. Not knowing what to do, they sit still. Presently, the Master regains partial consciousness of the world and says, "Now I have no pain at all. I am my old self again." The devotees are amazed to watch this state of the Master beyond pleasure and pain, weal and woe. He casts his glance on Latu and says, "There is Loto." He bends his head, resting it on the palm of his hand. I see that it is God himself who rests his head on his hand. Sri Ramakrishna looks at the devotees and his love for them wells of Rakal and Narendra. A few minutes later he says to Yam, "If the body were to be preserved a few days more, many people would have their spirituality awakened." He passes a few minutes, but this is not to be. This time the body will not be preserved. The devotees eagerly await the Master's next words. "Such is not the will of God. This time the body will not be preserved, lest, finding me guileless and foolish, people should take advantage of me, and lest I guileless and foolish as I am, should give away everything to everybody. In this Kali Yuga, you see, people are averse to meditation and japa." Rakal said tenderly, "Please speak to God that he may preserve your body some time more." Master said, "That depends on God's will." Narendra said, "Your will and God's will have become one." Sri Ramakrishna remained silent. He appears to be thinking about something. Master said to Narendra, Rakal and the others, "And nothing will happen if I speak to God. Now I see that I and the mother have become one." For fear of her sister-in-law, Radha said to Krishna, "Please dwell in my heart." But when, later on, she became very eager for a vision of Krishna, so eager that her heart pined and panted for her beloved, he would not come out. Rakal said in a low voice to the devotees, he is referring to God's incarnation as Gauranga. The devotees sit silently in the room. Sri Ramakrishna looks at them tenderly. Then he places his hand on his heart. He is about to speak. Master said to Narendra and the others, "There are two persons in this one, the Divine Mother." He passes. The devotees eagerly look at him to hear what he will say next. Master said, "Yes, one is she and the other is her devotee. It is a devotee who broke his arm, and it is the devotee who is now ill. Do you understand?" The devotees sit without uttering a word. Master said, "Alas, to whom shall I say all this? Who will understand me?" Passing a few moments, he says, "God becomes man, an avatar, and comes to earth with his devotees, and the devotees leave the world with him." Rakal said, "Therefore we pray that you may not go away and leave us behind." Sri Ramakrishna smiles and says, "A band of minstrels suddenly appears, dances and sings, and it departs in the same sudden manner. They come and they return, but none recognizes them." The Master and the devotees smile. After a few minutes he says, "Suffering is inevitable when one assumes a human body. Every now and then I say to myself, may I not have to come back to earth again? But there is something else. After enjoying sumptuous feasts outside, one does not relish cheap home cooking. Besides, this assuming of a human body is for the sake of the devotees." Sri Ramakrishna looks at Narendra very tenderly. Master said to Narendra, "An outcast was carrying a load of meat. Shankaracharya after bathing in the Ganges, was passing by. Suddenly the outcast touched him. Shankar said sharply, "What? You touched me?" "Reverend sir," he replied, "I have not touched you, nor have you touched me. Reason with me. Are you the body, the mind, the buddhi? Analyze what you are. You are the pure Atman, unattached and free, unaffected by the three gunas, Sat, Rajas and Tamas. Do you know what Brahman is like? It is like air. Good and bad smells are carried by the air, but the air itself is unaffected." Narendra said, "Yes, sir." Master said, "He is beyond the gunas and maya, beyond both the maya of knowledge and the maya of ignorance. Lust and gold is the maya of ignorance. Knowledge, renunciation, devotion, and other spiritual qualities are the splendors of the maya of knowledge. Shankaracharya kept this maya of knowledge, and that you and these others feel concerned about me is also due to this maya of knowledge." We shall stop here. So God can be seen only you have to keep your mind free from all things that distract the mind away from the spiritual path. That's all what we should do. And we should be very definite about the path which we are taking, and we must pursue it sincerely, earnestly. Then God can be seen. All right. Chant the name of the Lord and His glory unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean and quench that mighty forest fire, worldly lust raging furiously within. O name, stream down in moonlight on the lotus heart, opening its cup to knowledge of thyself, O self drowned deep in the waves of His bliss, tasting His nectar at every step, bathing in His name that bath for fairy souls. Various are thy names, O Lord. In each and every name thy power resides. No times are set, no rites are needful for chanting of thy name. So vast is thy mercy. How huge then is my wretchedness, who find in this empty life and heart no devotion to thy name. O my mind, be humbler than a blade of grass. Be patient and forbearing like a tree. Take no honor to thyself, give honor to all. Chant unceasingly the name of the Lord. O Lord and soul of the universe, mine is no prayer for wealth and retinue. The playthings of lust or the toys of fame, as many times as I may be reborn. Grant me, O Lord, a steadfast love for thee. A drowning man in this world's fearful ocean is thy servant, O sweet one. In thy mercy consider him as dust beneath thy feet. Oh, how I long for the day when an instant separation from thee, O Lord, will be as 1,000 years, when my heart burns with its desire, and the world without thee is a heartless void. Prostrate at thy feet let me be, in unwavering devotion, neither imploring the embrace of thine arms, nor bewaring the withdrawal of thy presence, though it tears my soul asunder. O thou who stealest the hearts of thy devotees, do with me what thou wilt, for thou art my heart's beloved, thou and thou alone. O Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness to light, and lead us from death to immortality. May all be free from dangers, may all realize what is good, may all be actuated by noble thoughts, may all rejoice everywhere. May all be happy, may all be free from disease, may all realize what is good, may none be subject to misery. May the wicked become virtuous, may the virtuous attain tranquility, may the tranquil be free from bonds, may the freed make others free. May good betide all people, may the sovereign righteously rule the earth, may all beings ever attain what is good, may the worlds be prosperous and happy. May the clouds pour rain in time, may the earth be blessed with crops, may all countries be freed from calamity, may holy men live without fear. May the Lord, the destroyer of sins, the presiding deity of all sacred works, be satisfied, for he being pleased, the whole universe becomes pleased, he being satisfied, the whole universe feels satisfied.